Welcome back to The Serial Entrepreneur. I'm your host, Anna Wood. Today I'm joined by serial entrepreneur and current founder and CEO of ScopeBetter, Tracey Shirtcliff. We discussed the serendipitous moment of her arriving in the UK, the highs of starting and exiting a business, and how even serial entrepreneurs face challenges 3 businesses down the line. Let's dig in.
I'm great, thanks. Anna, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, thank you. So we begin every episode of the podcast with the same question, which is, what's your favourite breakfast cereal and why?
I love it. When I had seen the invite to join your podcast, I was delighted. And then I was like, oh no, I don't eat cereal. What am I going to say? I'm a little bit of a biohacker, so I'm really big on intermittent fasting.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really eat breakfast. And when I do, I normally kind of start off with some eggs. So I'm a bit of a protein girl.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That's one for a difference for the cereal.
Yeah. Do you know what? I feel like a lot of people don't eat it for breakfast. The people who I do talk to who still eat cereal say, oh, I often have it as like a dessert or a little snack. Very rarely to start their day as well. And I'm like, yeah, that kind of makes sense because if I eat cereal, it's never for breakfast either.
I love that. It's like an analogy for life.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the nature of breakfast is it's break fast, right? So you can have it at any time.
Exactly. Yeah. So would you be able to introduce yourself and tell me about your background?
Absolutely. So my name's Tracey Shirtcliff. I'm originally New Zealander, which is probably the dulcet tones that you, Anna, and your readers will be, and your listeners will be picking up.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in the UK for over 20 years. My undergraduate degree is geology and zoology, which is a little bit crazy. And then I've got a master's degree in marketing and commerce. And how did I kind of become an entrepreneur? I think it was just the journey into technology when kind of the internet kind of kicked off. And I find it absolutely fascinating. I started off in websites and website content and then building software and businesses. So that's a little bit about my journey so far.
Great, thank you. So could you take us back to the moment that you came to the UK? What was your mindset?
Well, I'd actually been traveling through Asia with a girlfriend, and it was kind of one of those things where I kind of ran out of money and I was like, what am I going to do now? I had a graduate placement and I was supposed to be going back to a role in New Zealand. And I got to London and I was like, here for 6 weeks. And I went, oh my God, this city is incredible. It's just buzzing. Stayed with some family and then I instantly decided that this is where I wanted to be and stay and forge an opportunity. And, you know, what's the famous Samuel Jackson quote? If you tire of London, you tire of life.
Mm-hmm.
Fast forward 20 years and I still love the city. I love the vibe of the UK. Doing business here has been amazing and incredible. And I'm on my 3rd business. I've employed lots of people and had an amazing journey. So I feel very blessed.
Yeah. I think it kind of is one of those things like everything's meant to happen. The fact that you found your way here and went, actually, I do want to stay. I don't want to go back to my placement.
Well, the other thing is the UK is phenomenally easy when you come from New Zealand, because 20 years ago, you know, the highest court in London was the highest court in New Zealand was still the Privy Council in London. You know, the Queen was all over our money. Our laws are the same laws as the UK. We drive on the same side. We, you know, we watch the Queen's speech on Christmas Day. I mean, it's kind of like, whereas English is the English. So it kind of felt like, you know, it was just, and my roots come back from the north of England. So it kind of felt like a little bit like home, and I've got family here as well. So it didn't seem like a difficult journey.
Yeah, like a home away from home. Just
exactly.
Completely different, but also almost the same.
Exactly. But more exciting. And the weather in reverse. The first cold Christmas versus the Christmas at the beach. And then of course for us we would be skiing in August, and here in Europe you're holidaying, so on the beach. So
yeah, that's really interesting. So you said you started 3 companies. Your current business is ScopeBetter. Where did the inspiration come from to start that business?
Well, I was actually running a very successful SaaS business already, and I was approached to exit and sell that business. which was an opportunity that everybody in the business thought was too good, that we were going to join a new, more exciting business that was going to help us grow quicker and acquire new clients. So at that point, I was not ready to hang out my boot, Anna, and I was like, I'm not ready. I don't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody else is excited about this opportunity. So I hatched a plan to move into the whole kind of world of scoping and scope better. So the idea was actually around solving a problem that I'd seen in the previous business.
Mm-hmm.
So the previous business was project management and workflow. And it just seemed that the thing that wasn't solved was pricing. So
Mm-hmm.
ScopeBetter in a nutshell is a CPQ, so a configure price quote tool, which helps professional services businesses to price better. So I guess in a real analogy for people at the moment, if you're a services business, you'll put together an Excel spreadsheet which has hours, roles, and rates on it with different ways to price, and then a Word document, and we just bring that all together on a platform.
Perfect. So pricing is a big issue for kind of professionals and professional services. What do you think are the most common mistakes when it comes to pricing?
I mean, there's a few, but the number one thing that never ceases to surprise me is Statsa, which is the body for SaaS and professional services businesses, did a poll, and they said in the lifetime of a business, those businesses are typically spending 6 hours on average dealing with pricing,
Mm-hmm.
which just blew my mind. So pricing determines profit for any business. And if you're really not spending any time on it, it means that you don't have a clear plan, a clear strategy. And a lot of professional services businesses just are working out how they can charge as much as they can for their services and make as much money as they can. And I think there's a better way, which is what we're effectively doing with ScopeBetter.
Great, thank you. So in the past, you also founded different companies. You've already said which were successes and eventually acquired. What was that journey like from going from having your business to being acquired? Obviously, you kind of lightly mentioned it, but I think for a lot of founders, that's the end goal, to be acquired or either be super successful that they don't need to be. So how is that?
It's one of those things. It's an enormous accolade for somebody to recognize the efforts that you have done in your business and want you to join them and to acquire it.
Mm-hmm.
It's also, I felt like it was on the journey. They're my babies. I get, really involved. The team, we're all on a joint mission. We have fun. We've all kind of completely focused. So it kind of sometimes it feels like you've given up on one of your children or one of your babies.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm never really ready to stop. So I always find it kind of a necessity for me to see what the next thing is. And I've been lucky enough, I've found other things to move into.
Mm-hmm.
You always think that you've seen it all before and you're going to find it easy. I've got to be honest. It's challenging.
Mm-hmm.
It's challenging every day, even though I've done it before. And people say to me, oh, you must, it must be easier for you because it's like, no. And because you've seen a hole in the road or a pothole, as I call them, doesn't mean you don't drive into them.
Mm-hmm.
You just know when to breathe in when you're going to hit them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the thing. I've spoken to so many founders who have started multiple businesses, and they say, like, you do learn on other things, but because you're starting a completely different business, the challenges you face are completely different. So half the time you can't use the same learnings from the first business because you're not stumbling on the same things because it's completely different issues now.
And timing's another thing. It's kind of like when you start something. When we started ScopeBetter, I thought we were completely new and unique.
Mm-hmm.
We started down an AI journey, and we modeled out the entire platform around producing a series of kind of deliverables or data points for services businesses. And I was like, wow, this is something completely unique. I jumped on a call with 2 Gartner analysts about 4 years into the journey. And they stopped me about 10 minutes in when I was explaining our completely unique business. And Anna, they said, oh, you're a CPQ for services. And I was like, oh my God, I'm a what? As I'm quickly Googling to the side. And I was like, we're not new and unique. There's like lots of others of us. which
Mm-hmm.
was actually also great, because sometimes when you're on the journey and you don't have other things to compare with, it's much more difficult. So finding other things to compare with, to set your sights on, your sails on, I think can
Mm-hmm.
also help you on an entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, definitely being able to see like you're not just a small fish in a big pond. There's other people around you and you can be like, okay, what's going on? What's the industry expecting of
Yeah.
me as well?
It's also that whole mind shift that happened that day was like, oh, we're bleeding edge to, oh, we're cutting edge. We've got other people around us. Let's see what they're doing in different segments and different
Mm-hmm.
markets. What makes us different? Because I think the secret to a good business is really identifying what makes you different and what your superpower is, and not being distracted by other people. Like,
Mm-hmm.
get in your lane, own that lane, and know that that is what your strengths are. Sometimes you can't help yourself. It's like we do that, don't we? All crane our neck. It's like,
Yeah.
oh my goodness, I can see them out the corner of my eye and they're doing better. But you really need to focus around what it is that's in your lane.
Yeah.
My
So
advice. Sneaky bit of
yeah.
advice.
So we kind of discussed how not all challenges will be the same on every journey. Throughout your entire career journey, what do you think have been some of the main challenges that stick out in your mind, and how did you manage to overcome them to get to where you are now?
I mean, there's a number. You can have challenges when because I invariably work in tech,
Hmm.
and sometimes you have to choose a technical solution that might not in time have been the right solution. So I love a pivot. I love
Hmm.
it. And I also believe that sometimes to dwell on worrying about making the right choice, you just need to make a decision and force that through. And sometimes it's just making the decision and moving that's important. The other one I absolutely say all the time, like Winston Churchill, never, never, never give up. I mean, you can have good days, you can have bad days, and you can have dark days. But you
Hmm.
can also have amazing days like today, where I get to chat to you about
Yeah.
my journey. So, yeah, I mean, my honest advice when I say to people, I say, I know it's tough. Not everybody can do this. Enjoy the
Hmm.
journey, smell the roses when you get roses, and never, never, never go up.
Yeah. I think I hear so many founders talk about that a certain type of person can be a successful founder, but there's no really traits besides never giving up. People can be extroverted, they can be introverted. People can like have completely different, but the one thing that mattered is they get up every day and go, I love what I do, so I'm going to keep doing it. Yeah, it's really hard, but it's all I know at this point. They don't want to go back to corporate because they're like, my solution is the solution. So I think that's very poignant that I hear it a lot of kind of just don't give up.
Well,
Especially
there's also so many examples, right? I mean, Dropbox was the start of an entire new revolution around
hmm
how we did file storage, and you wouldn't contemplate ever doing it again of a server in an office. And I mean, they nearly got stopped hundreds of times. You know, the amount of things in the technology realm that have just, I
hmm
mean, the enormous success of Steve Jobs and Apple. I mean, how many times did that never get to where it
yeah.
needed to be? So that advice, it's pretty good advice.
It, it is, and even talking about companies like that, Canva was a big one that the founder was constantly told like, we're not going to fund this because it kind of seems like other applications can kind of do the same thing. And now that I'm pretty sure multi-billion-dollar company, they're massive. The concept of them not being around is actually a bit crazy because I think everyone uses Canva, from people who do kind of design things for their job, who do like small bits of marketing, to just the average person making a small Instagram post for their personal Instagram. It's one of those things that's kind of come into everyone's lives. And the thought of it not have ever been there, and the fact that the founder got so many no's and got told she wasn't going to be funded so many times,
Yeah.
is crazy because now everyone uses it.
It's ubiquitous. I agree. I mean, WhatsApp,
Hmm.
the other one. Who would have thought that it's like, oh, we had Messenger, or we had kind of
Yeah.
like, yeah, and all of a sudden it's like it just viraled out of all
Mm-hmm.
possibility. They made no money. They made, but it's like everyone uses it. It's ubiquitous worldwide. Yeah, I know. Technology, it's fabulous, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It really is. I think people don't realize, just who aren't in the space don't realize how much it affects them until it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we spoke about the challenges. What would you say have been some of the highlights of your journey so far?
Well, I think it always feels good when you do exit a business. Also, when you start a business, I like
Mm-hmm.
kind of either end of the spectrum. Sometimes in the middle, it can be a bit daunting. I mean, the nice thing about exiting is for the first day ever, you can kind of go, actually, the buck doesn't stop with me every single day and every single
Mm-hmm.
call. That was actually a really nice feeling for a couple of months. And I also love coming up with ideas, building a business, brainstorming. I love building new things. Don't know why, but that's kind of, I think, where I'm quite passionate. So
Mm-hmm.
starting, I also love coming up with the idea, the marketing, the branding, yeah. Sometimes in the middle, in the day to day, in the grind, I love problem solving. And I think as a founder, you've got to really like to deal with problems because they
Mm-hmm.
sometimes come at you hard and fast. Celebrate the wins
Yeah.
and deal with the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, yeah.
How do you like to celebrate the wins?
I mean, I love a glass of champagne. I've got to be honest. Yeah. When I talk to people and they're like, I don't drink, I'm like, oh God. It's like, please. I also like to do it as a team, like the call outs, the shout outs. I think that's really important. There's
Mm-hmm.
that wonderful saying, isn't there? If like you want to go fast, go alone. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to go strong, go as a team. And I think sometimes you forget that it takes a village to grow a business. And
Mm-hmm.
it's, I know I often get the joys of being the figurehead and getting to talk to people. But behind me, I have an amazing group of people. So that is one of the things I love doing is celebrating with them. We have we have a daily stand up with the team. We have a weekly a weekly kind of meeting, and then we have a monthly all teams. And always that's about kind of doing call outs with things to celebrate. Yeah, we talk about stuff that's not working, but it's the positive focus that we try and keep attached to.
Yeah, great. So we've discussed that you've started multiple businesses. So you've started in multiple businesses, you've scaled multiple businesses. What have been the key lessons that you've learned during all of that?
It's tough. I think one of the things that's really difficult to get to is we've struggled to get out of founder-led sales. So
Mm-hmm.
I get very passionate around selling the different tools that we build and put together. And I always think it's quite good to go early. So I still remember in this business and the last business, people were like, are we ready? I'm like, yeah, we've got to go. So finding some kind of key, I call them hero partners, clients that you then wrap your arms around and you really support and they really support you is absolutely critical.
Mm-hmm.
And people talk now about MVP, minimum viable product. We never used to really talk about that. We used to say, well, what is it that is, what is the key thing that we can really provide to a client that's going to give them competitive advantage?
Mm-hmm.
It's the same thing. You've got to work out what your superpower is, wrap your arms around it. And that's the really hardest thing is taking a business from kind of idea to selling that into clients and making that repeatable sales motion and scaling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a challenge. It is a
Yeah.
challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine. So we've discussed how you started 3 businesses, your current one, but what have all of the different businesses been?
So the first one was around content,
Mm-hmm.
producing content for websites and for various different agencies. And then I moved into software specifically. So it was a project management and a resource planning tool. And actually the software was created in the previous business. And then the final business, I'd seen a similar type thing where I'd seen a problem before I'd even exited the previous business that
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, So we're solving this part of it, but I can see that there's another hole here. And I'd already kind of had a little bit of an idea around doing it. So I know that I say at the moment, I'm like, I'm not going to do another one. But I think I just look at how the world works, and I like to, I'm very much a process person, Anna, which is really crazy because in my day-to-day life, I put a lot of people around me that love process, but I like solving it within businesses. I'm not sure I'm going to do the same thing again. Probably it might be something more in the health and biohacking space, but let's see. Yeah. See, look, I can't help myself. I'm already talking about the fourth one, even though I'm saying I'm not going to do a fourth one.
Well, it's funny because from our conversation, I was going to ask, do you have anything in the back of your mind saying, maybe just one more, maybe just another idea that I have brewing there?
I have another idea brewing, and I'm keeping it well down and well hidden. I've also worked out, and I think that's another thing in the journey. Like in the beginning, I was, I think I'm a good multitasker, and I think you have to be to do that entrepreneurial role. But I'm what I call a quick start. So I start things, and I need other people to help me to kind of follow things through. And one of the things I realized is actually I love to think that I'm good at multitasking, but I actually am really quite good when I get laser focused and solving one problem. So I admire entrepreneurs that can have 3 or 4 businesses running at once. I don't know how to do that. Yeah. I know how to stay in my lane and to work really, really well. So that's something I'd love to learn. How do other entrepreneurs have 3 or 4 businesses running at the same time? I don't know. I haven't solved that one.
Yeah, it seems crazy when you realize just how much work someone's putting into one business and then realizing they've got more than just that one. It's like, how many hours do you have in a day? And why don't I have that many hours?
It's exactly right. I mean, it's a superpower to do one, let alone 3 or 4. Maybe they just are really good at being at the 10,000 feet. I don't know. If your next podcast, if you get that answer, please send it to me. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I think a big thing is people building teams around them that they really trust and that they know are doing a good job. Because I think, even as you said, it's the team, right? It's not just what you're doing, it's everyone. So I think if you do have multiple businesses, it's knowing that if you're not currently working on that thing, it's in safe hands.
Yeah. But I think it's the communication as well. So how do you communicate to those people that they then trust you, you trust them? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's an admirable thing. And I completely agree. I mean, as I said, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go with success, go with a team. And it's all around the team, 100%.
Yeah. So kind of either looking back to before you even started a business or looking to other people who are looking to start a business, what is one piece of advice that either you would have liked to have heard right at the beginning of your journey or that you'd like to share with other people looking to start a business?
People ask me all the time, it's like, I've got a really great idea. Do you think it's a great idea? And I'm like, I don't think it's whether I think it's a great idea. It's like whether you think it's a great idea. Because I genuinely believe, just like never, never, never give up, I believe it's self-belief. If you think the idea is worthy, and even when people tell you it's not to listen, to keep pushing forward. And I think start sooner, because all that happens is you become much more comfortable with the income from the pay packet, from the opportunity that you have, from learning, from, I mean, I just start today. If you have a great idea and you think that it's worthy, I'm all in, and you need to be all in too.
Yeah, just take that dive, no matter how scary it might be.
It is scary. Anna, it's scary. But we're wired like that, right? As humans, we've got self-preservation at our core, and we're like, well, what's going to happen because I've got an income? Well, you'll lean into it and you'll find new ways. Yeah.
Yeah, I've spoken to founders before and I find it really interesting that I think there's two kinds of founders from when they're starting is they either quit their job and really go for their startup or, and I'm not sure which one's more difficult, or they stay at their job and then work at their startup in all of their free time. So they're essentially just working two jobs simultaneously. And it's crazy because it's like, when are you building your product? When are you doing all this stuff? And I don't even know what seems like the scarier option because both seem not ideal to me.
I agree. Well, I think both of those examples is passion and belief, right?
Mm-hmm.
So quitting your job is scary, but you've got passion and belief. Working all your other spare time in something that, is outside of what you're doing in your day job
Mm-hmm.
is passion and belief. And you've got to have, everybody talks about this whole kind of purpose and drive. I think if you're doing another job full time and you then have your startup outside of that, I mean, it really by its very nature has to be something that you're kind of passionate about, because otherwise you just couldn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think most people who would be working two jobs, no matter what their circumstances, would get burnt out so fast.
Yeah.
It's even people working one job that they don't really like will get burnt out, let alone working a job that they're all right about and then building something truly from the ground up. So it must be that drive, that passion, the belief in what they're doing to not give up and not be like, oh, well, someone might come up with this a couple years down the line and being like, I should be the one to do this.
It also comes into purpose, doesn't it? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I know that's one thing that people have often asked me, as you go through your career, in your early days, you just want to kind of dig deep and get knowledge and skills.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the world is changing so quickly with technology and with opportunities that I think just dive in.
Yeah.
And, what is your purpose? If you feel that you're passionate about it, it makes you have more energy when you're doing it than when you're not. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, jump as quick as you can.
Yeah. So kind of looking to this year and the future, what do you think is coming next for yourself and your business?
We are working on kind of a new, and I don't like to talk about features, but in our platform, we have what we've designed is something called anyway pricing. And we come up a lot against the Excel spreadsheet. When people say, what's your competition? I was like, it's the
Mm-hmm.
Excel spreadsheet, which is amazing because it's ubiquitous with everybody. It's a 50-year-old piece of technology. I'm sorry, Microsoft, but it is.
Mm-hmm.
They've continued to modernize it, but I don't believe it's kind of fit for purpose for businesses at scale. So we've developed a new part into our tool called scenario pricing, which works just like Excel with the if-then statements and various kind of things. I think it's kind of cool and funky. I know that's a bit geeky. I'm sorry, it's a bit geeky, but I'm excited to launch that.
Mm.
And then I think in the next year, we're looking to continue to grow and tell people about what ScopeBetter does.
Mhm.
And the big thing for me is, and I don't know how much you or your listeners kind of know around professional services businesses, but with the advent of AI, we've been talking about it. But professional services businesses, 70% of them run on what they call billable hours.
Mhm.
So if AI is increasing productivity and we're reducing the time that it takes to do all of these things, the billable hour is going to reduce. So I'm quite passionate of making sure we take businesses on that journey to make sure that they're transitioning away from the billable hours to smarter ways of working so they can make as much money and support their customers as well without declining. And that's, I'm kind of, if you look ahoy captain into the future, that's what I'm kind of setting our sights on, the
Mhm.
different ways of working and how
Yeah.
we can help businesses support that.
Great. And do you have any goals for this upcoming year?
Well, I'm a little bit of a biohacker, as I talked about in the beginning,
Mhm.
and I want to grow more muscle. I want to get quite muscly and quite strong. Anna, you know this because we were
Mhm.
supposed to have the podcast a week ago, and I was quite poorly, and I needed to put it off. So
Mhm.
that's just become kind of center for me is I'm gonna try and become quite strong.
Mm-hmm. That, to be fair, that's a good guy. I think a lot of people start the year and they think, oh, I'm going to go to the gym all the time. But then by the time February hits, no one's going. No one's going anymore. So I think it's quite good for your goal for the year, and not just, oh yeah, that's my New Year's resolution, that you're still thinking that you've just gone through something like a big illness. So you're still like, no, the health is up there. Like it's high up there.
Health as well. So yeah, absolutely. I want to get
Mm-hmm.
strong this year. I mean, I'm normally quite strong. I kite surf, I play polo, I ski, I water ski. Yeah, but strength, I think.
Yeah.
It's all about the weights. Let's push
Yeah.
the weight.
Yeah. All of these businesses you've done, all of these sports that you do, what don't you do really?
I don't cook very well.
Yeah, well, we all have that one thing that we just can't do very well.
I love eating. That's
Mm-hmm.
my perfect thing. I love eating, but not so much the cooking.
Yeah, that's understandable. So that's come to the end of my questions. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention or plug at the end of the podcast?
Well, I wanted to say thank you. I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Of all of the entrepreneurs you have interviewed, what are the 3 characteristics that you think sum up a great entrepreneur? See, then I'm going to learn something at the end of
Yeah,
it.
I think we kind of mentioned this earlier, is someone who, as you said, someone who's really passionate about what they do and someone who won't give up. But then I think that's kind of hand in hand, because if you're passionate about something, you don't want to give up. I also think a big one, it's not kind of like, it's not a trait that everyone has, but I think someone who's got a background in corporate and who has come from a different business and has kind of come out of that and started their own business is interesting, because most of those people have come into it thinking, like, knowing what the issue is. They've felt it themselves, especially when they go into the same kind of sector. They'll say, I've been working with this program and this is a major issue and no one seems to do anything about it. So I want to do a program that fixes that issue. But also that is a trait of being someone who wants to fix something that's broken, or wants to fix something that no one else is thinking about fixing.
Solutions. That's it, isn't
Yeah,
it? We all need solutions to the everyday
yeah,
challenges of life and business.
exactly. I think people who come up with solutions to everyday problems for people, whether that is something kind of software based or whether someone's making a piece of hardware that's fixing an issue. I interviewed a startup for the magazine a little while ago, and they're doing basically a shower. It's a smart shower that stores hot water. So it basically gets rid of a lot of water waste, because when you turn on a shower, you have to wait a couple minutes for it to heat up. It stores the hot water from the past shower. So the shower starts and it's hot already. And then by the time it's used that reserve, the water's already hot. So there's no water
That's
wasted.
super smart, isn't it?
Yeah. And it was one
We
of
all
those.
do that, don't we? We turn, even I did it this morning, turn on the shower. I've walked around the bathroom, gone and got my clothes ready. Yeah,
Yeah.
nice.
And he was like, it was just a problem, because he just thought one day, that's a problem, but it's never been solved. Why has this never been solved? And he was coming at it from a sustainability point of view. But he's also found, since starting the business, that it's been easier to sell the product by talking about basically it as a luxury and convenience rather than sustainability. But he's like, sustainability's still at our core, but people want it for the convenience. A lot of people aren't that bothered about the sustainability behind it.
I mean,
But
that's terrible to admit, but I concur. I concur.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I think something like that, where they're fixing a problem that everyone has, but you don't think about it. It was until he really thought about it and going, why is this just the norm now? Why for like so many years have we all just been turning it on, waiting 5 minutes and then hopping in? Why can't we have hot water straight away?
Because I love that. I mean, as soon as you said it, I was like, genius.
Yeah.
Why has no one thought of that?
Exactly.
So then you go, and of course, that's a purpose. that's then he's driven, it's solving a real problem. He's passionate about it.
Yeah.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, it was one of those things that when I learned about it, I was like, yeah, why hasn't that hasn't that been solved before now?
The
She was
light
like,
bulb moment.
yeah, I interviewed him last year and I'm like, it's 2024. How has this not been solved? And people have been showering for so many years.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So
now
I think
you're going to throw on top of that they turn it to cold specifically and hop in, because that's a biohack, isn't it?
yeah.
But I love his idea. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. It genuinely it blew my mind. I went, that's really amazing what you're doing there. It just solves such almost a small issue, but then when you take it into account that it's just 5 minutes worth of water wasted every day and multiple times a day. If you're in a household that has 4 people who are showering every day, that's so much water
times
wasted.
that by the people across London. I mean,
Exactly.
that's billions and billions of litres every year. I mean, incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I can't remember the 3 traits I've just said, but those are the ones.
I love it. I really enjoyed speaking with you, Anna. Thank you very much for inviting me on your podcast.
Yeah, I've had a great time speaking with you too, Tracey. It's been amazing learning more about you, about your journey, about your businesses. And yeah, hopefully we'll see more of you soon.
I would love that.
Yes.
I would love that.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank you so much for coming on today.
All right. Brilliant.
See you later.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and check out Startup Magazine's socials to stay up to date on the latest startups news.